Look at this big old guy. Look at this big old guy. His name is Costello. He's enormous. Look at this belly. Oh my goodness.
Digital gramophone makes no sense.
Hey guys, so today I'm going to do a video of my favorite albums from 2019. Kind of a top 10 list, kind of. I'm going to talk about more than 10 albums, but and even my top 10 is, I'll get to that. First, let's start with some albums that didn't make my top 10, but I wanted to talk about. First of all, this is a guy, I love when people say this. This is a guy that I've never seen anybody in the VC talk about. How many of us say that? And we couldn't be more wrong. Because there's just so many channels out there. It's that none of us are even aware of. But I'll just say in my circle, and since I've only been making videos in a year and watching for a little over a year, I've just never seen anybody talk about this guy. And this album that he put out this year was really fun. And I think there are several of you out there that might not be aware of him or aware of this, and you might really like it. And it's Robert Ellis's Texas Piano Man. Look at that cover. It is brilliant. Look at that suit. This album has a lot. It's just fun. It's a really fun album. And it's he's a really good guitar player, singer-songwriter. This is his fourth proper studio LP. I have his previous two, which are fantastic. He's kind of associated with the Americana world. There's a country influence in a lot of his earlier work, but also he really kind of stretches out. And I would just, say he's just a really good singer-songwriter. This particular album, he said, he was really, and he's been a big fan of guys like Elton John and, songwriters like Randy Newman and Harry Nilsson. And even though there's nothing on here that is anywhere near Newman, not anywhere close to Randy Newman, but there is definitely a lot of stuff on here that really reminds me of Harry Nilsson. So if you're a big fan of Harry Nilsson, I would at least sample this album and see what you think. Texas Piano Man by Robert Ellis. So I'd be remiss if I didn't, I never really actually got a chance to talk about it because when I made my Bruce Springsteen videos, this album had not come out yet. I was making those videos kind of leading up to it. So Western Stars by Bruce Springsteen. I just wanted to mention that, as a big Springsteen fan, I love this album, and it's hard to say. It's hard to say, but it's become over the year, it's become one of my favorite albums by him. Now that's a long discography. It's hard to say if it's top 5. It's definitely top 10, and it's definitely one of the better albums that he's put out since the late 80s, for sure. And it's just such a great album, and lots of people have already talked about it. But I just wanted to mention, kind of how I felt about it. This is one by a band, and their last 3 albums, including this one, when they first came out, I'm a big fan of this band, and I was kind of like, they're good. They're good songs on them, but they never just really blew me away on first listen. And the more time that I've spent with their last 3 albums, they've grown on me. And specifically this one and the last one, but this one, I Am Easy to Find by The National is, that's the back. I Am Easy to Find by The National is great. It's a great album, and it's a step forward for the band and a really impressive artistic decision to work with. There's almost every song on here is a duet of some sort. A lot of contributors on here, some great vocal performances by some of the women on it. And I would just say that if you haven't checked this one out, I would definitely give it a listen. I know there's some national fans out there that have already talked about this one, but yeah, it's just really good and worth mentioning just because it just didn't really hit me right away. But over time, it's become one of my favorite releases this year for sure. These are not really in any order, although I will say the top 4 were definitely top shelf albums for me personally. And the ones behind it, you could kind of probably shuffle them around in any order, but because you have to do it this way, there are rules, right? Societal rules. At number 10, I have Duran Jones and the Indications, American Love Call. A lot of people would say that, and I've seen some people say that this one isn't quite as good as their first one. I think they just kind of liked the rawer nature of their first album. I couldn't disagree more. I love the advancement in the production quality on this album and the range of styles of R&B from different eras that they almost meld and into each other on individual songs. Just a great album, and also stretching their songwriting a little bit. I mean, there's some topical stuff on here for sure, and it's great to see a band not be afraid of doing that. But yeah, Duran Jones and the Indications, incredible R&B group, and I've thoroughly enjoyed this album this year. So this one I really didn't want to put in there, but I couldn't help myself, and I've spent quite a lot of time with it in the last few weeks, streaming it in my car and occasionally at work. I've only been able to spin it once on my record player, but this album, it's just hard to deny. And usually these things don't work out so well, but it's a super group, and it's the country super group, the Highwomen. The name of the band obviously is a play off of the Highwaymen, the Highwomen. This is Brandi Carlile, Maren Morris, Natalie Hemby, and Amanda Shires. And they just knocked this out of the park. There are incredible songs on this album. So well written. It's a country album that stands up with, the classic sounds of country from the 70s and the 60s, and yet also holds up by modern standards, most definitely. Just a fantastic album, a fantastic statement in a year that, and people have said this before in the past, but I can't help but say it this year, and you'll see that reflected in the albums that I have to show. This was an incredible year for women in music, and last year was too, and the year before that, and it's just continuing to build steam. And there's a lot of great female artists that are finally getting exposure, and it's a fantastic thing to see. And I've thoroughly enjoyed, especially now being the father of a little girl, I've enjoyed seeing my collection grow and represent more female musicians. It's something that I have probably, in my younger days, was probably a little bit guilty of. And now I just, there's just so much great music out there now. So it's easier for women to get exposure, maybe not on the radio and maybe not, on the charts exactly, but definitely through the internet and word of mouth. And this is just a fantastic album by some of the best in the business. Again, those supergroup things, they fail a lot more often than they work. And that one, it's a great album. It's really good. Sleater-Kinney's The Center Won't Hold. I couldn't help myself. I know it's kind of a controversial sound to some and longtime fans, but Annie Clark, St. Vincent, did a fantastic job of producing this. And I think it's also, credit to the band for embracing her her sound and her sensibilities, because her fingertips are all over this album, and yet it still sounds like Sleater-Kinney. Just some great rock songs on here, but it's nice to hear them kind of experiment with some kind of pop, dance, rock kind of sounds. And even though Janet Weyes has now left the band, it probably had something to do with this shift in direction, but I'm looking forward to more from Sleater-Kinney. And yeah, this is a great album. Heart is harder than I, really. All right, here's another one by a long-time mainstay, Ghosteen by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. I'm even going to go out on a limb and say that overall, this album, sonically, is very reflective of the cover. Beautiful, and more beautiful, I would say, than even like a Boatman's Call. The Boatman's Call. It's just... It's got a sheen, a shimmering quality to it. It's a lot of people, I think, when they saw this announced, they're kind of like, that's a Nick Cave album cover? But it works. For the music that's on here, it's fantastic.
Fantastic.
Nick Cave, I mean, come on. He's great. And I've become a bigger fan of him in more recent years. And if his discography wasn't so huge, I would be a completist, but maybe I'll get there one day. Who knows? Probably have to get rid of a lot of other ones, though, to make room. But yeah, I don't know where we are. Number 6, who cares? This is called The Unseen In Between by Steve Gunn. Now, Steve Gunn is a guitarist, talented guitarist, whose previous work was very inspired by 60s and 70s kind of British folk kind of sound. Richard Thompson and Michael Chapman, among others that escape me right now. But this album and his last one, they started to kind of shift away from that sound a little bit more and embrace more of a rock sound, a more accessible sound. This one definitely, there's some straight up more popular rock songs, in particular the single Vagabond, which is still my favorite song on the album. It's just fantastic. But yeah, Steve Gunn, this is his first album, Matador. If you like anything that resembles the incredibly bleak, uninspiring description that I gave of this album, it deserves better. I would check out Steve Gunn if you haven't already. He's great. He used to play lead guitar in Kurt Weill's Violators. But yeah, he's been out on his own for a while now. And this one's great, and I think it's promising of what's to come from him. I think he's going to get more and more popular over time. We're in the top 5 now. Brittany Howard's Jamie. I talked about this album in an earlier video, so I'm not going to spend any more time on it. Incredible album. Incredible vocalist. Fantastic R&B. This next one, Sturgill Simpson's Sound and Fury. I talked about this again in a previous video. If you want to hear what I have to say about it, check it out. The one thing that I killed myself for not talking about when I talked about that album was that at times the genre blending that goes on in it. There's even like that synth, that Dr. Dre synth sound. Is it a synth? You guys know what I'm talking about. That West Coast Dr. Dre, like, whatever. Oh, wow, wonderful. They even like mess around with that on this album. But yeah. Sound and Fury by Sturgill Simpson. Screw all these people that say you should only make country music. This is an incredible rock and roll album. Okay, so this is the second album that this band released in 2019. And I talked about their first album in a previous video on 2019 releases. But this one is even better than that one, and that one was really good. This is Big Thief's Two Hands. And the reason why I've selected this one above UFOF, which is fantastic. is that I feel like this album is their best yet because it represents this band better than anything that they've put out. It was basically recorded live in the studio. It sounds like that. There's virtually no overdubs. And you can almost hear how this band communicates with each other, like while playing and on record, like the way you would almost a jazz record. It's something else. And Adrian Linker is just an incredible vocalist, and I love how they didn't re-record the vocals. There are flaws here, and yet it's still remarkable. And her songwriting, incredible. Buck Meek's guitar playing, the rhythm section by the two guys who I can't remember their names right now. But anyway, yeah, Big Thief is a great band. One of the better newish bands to come out in the last 3 to 4 years. Highly recommend Big Thief. Real kind of Neil Young sound on that album. Really good stuff. All right, this is another one that I talked about in a previous video, so I won't spend a ton of time on it as well. Titanic Rising by Weyes Blood. I just can't say enough about it. Natalie Merring's vocals are incredible. She's a gifted songwriter and arranger, and this one is sure to be at the top of a lot of top critics' top 10s lists. I'm sure it already is. I really haven't looked at any to date, but I'm sure a few have already come out. But yeah, Titanic Rising by Weyes Blood. Can't recommend this more. And then last but not least, again, another album that I talked about in previous video, and it came out very early in the year, in January or February, but I think it was January. And she's one of my favorite vocalists, Sharon Van Etten, Remind Me Tomorrow. And even though it came out early in the year, and that usually will affect my opinion, and in years past it has, nothing topped this one. This album, like I said, the top 5 albums here that I've listed or that I've talked about are top shelf albums. It would be top 10 albums in any given year. But this one, in my opinion, and my love for it, just separated itself from the other 9. There's just nothing better than this album. The production, the songwriting, her vocal performance, incredibly dark sounding, but also extremely beautiful and uplifting. I mentioned in the previous video that I think there was a lot of Nick Cave influence on her in this album, and yeah, it's just remarkable. Can't recommend this album more. Said that already about 8 times, but yeah, Remind Me Tomorrow by Sharon Van Etten. So also, I thought that I would talk about RSD. I didn't really go to RSD this year, and I wasn't really blown away by the list. So there wasn't really anything that I was dying to have. And so I dropped into the store yesterday. Today's Wednesday. There was a ton left. I posted 2 little snippets on Instagram just showing people how much stuff was still available. I was really hoping that Freddie King album would be out, would still be there, because I've seen a few people talk about it in their videos, and I was like, oh man, like I actually really would want that, but it wasn't there. But they had a lot of the Miles albums left, a lot of jazz selections still left. There were like 4 or 5 Jerry Garcia box sets. I mean, there was a ton of stuff left. I did manage to pick up 2 things. I did know about this one, and so I picked it up for obvious reasons. It's Steve Canyon Rangers, and it's the North Carolina Songbook. This was recorded live at Merle Fest in April of this year. It was this year at Merle Fest. And Merle Fest is a bluegrass festival that's held here in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. When I saw this was coming out. I didn't even know if it was only going to be an RSD release. I think when I first saw it, and I was kind of hoping that there would be a lot more traditional songs on here, but instead it's really more covers by some of the more famous artists from North, or that were at least born in North Carolina. You know, there's a cover of Sweet Baby James by James Taylor, Stand By Me by Benny King. There's some Earl Scruggs and Blue Monk by Thelonious Monk. There's an Elizabeth Cotton song on here, and a Doc Watson tune, among others. But yeah, just haven't spun this yet, but looking forward to it. Yeah, all the proceeds went to the Emergency Student Fund, the Doc Watson Emergency Student Fund, which I think is part of the Merle Fest, associated with Merle Fest as well. All right, so this next one, I didn't even see it on the RSD list when I was looking it over, and I usually watch the Bull Moose videos where he'll pull out everything and show everybody what's coming out, but I didn't watch that this year. Again, just didn't have a lot of interest. And I totally overlooked this one. And I didn't even know it was going to be there. I'm just looking around through the boxes, and there was one box with about 15 copies of this album. So I was like, you know, I wonder what this one is that nobody wanted. Silver by the Wrens. I can't tell you how excited I am to get this. And apparently I'm the only person in Charlotte, North Carolina that likes the Wrens, which is fucking ridiculous. The Wrens are great indie rock band. This is an extremely kind of lo-fi album, and much in the vein of, I would say, Guided by Voices, at least the lo-fi production, not their sound. But yeah, I mean, the Wrens are fantastic band. This was their first album, and so it came out in '94. So that, you know, it's the 25th anniversary release. I'm not gonna lie, I probably would have preferred it, and I'm hoping maybe that this means that they'll reissue Secaucus on vinyl, because I think I've seen it on Discogs for like $500. But I'm hoping that they release that. The Wrens are a great band out of New Jersey. They have released exactly 3 albums since 1994, and they're working on their next one, and I think it's supposed to come out next year. They've been working on it for 16 years. But they're a great band, and this is I'm really stoked to get this. Probably more excited than I should be. But I guess because I had no idea it was there, and there it was. So I can't believe there were so many copies of this thing. And I talked to Scott at Lunchbox, and he said that he thought it would be kind of like a sleeper, you know, like a. So he made sure to order as many as he could, and there you go. There's RSD for you. I don't envy these record store owners, guys. I really don't. And I feel like a lot of them almost feel more like obligated to participate now, which is kind of unfair, because that's not what the spirit of it originally was, you know? I mean, it still kind of works because it gets people out to the store, you know? It's definitely a kind of a PR push now more than anything. But the stores don't... I've seen some people complain about prices and stuff. Trust me, guys, the stores don't make a lot of profit. And, Scott's mentioned to me several times that he's lucky if he makes, if he breaks even on it, to be completely honest. So anyway, just keep that in mind. What just happened there? Anyway, hope you guys are doing well. I think I'm going to play a song now that this video isn't long enough. Put a video clip in here of a song. How about that?
shattered. Get tired of looking, you know that I hate the game. Don't wanna waste any more time, you know I've been holding on. Love is calling. It's time to give to you something you can hold on to. I dare you to try. It's not the energy reeling, nor the lines in your face, nor the clouds on the ceiling, nor the clouds in space. It's not the open weaving, nor the furnace glow, nor the blood of you bleeding as you try to let go. It's not the phone on the table, nor the bed in the earth, nor the bed in the stable, nor your stable worth. It's not the formless being, nor the cry in the air, nor the girl I'm seeing with her long black hair. It's not the room, not beginning, not the crowd, not winning, not the pain, not spinning, not a ruse, not heat, not the fire lapping up the creek, not food, not to eat, not the meat of your thigh, nor your spine tattoo, nor your shimmery eye, nor the wet of the dew. It's not the warm illusion, nor the crack in the plate, nor the breath of confusion, nor the starkness of slate. It's not the room, not beginning, not the crowd, not winning, not the painting, not spinning, not a ruse, not heat, not the fire lapping up the creek, not food, not to eat, not what you really wanted, nor the mess in your purse, nor the bed that is haunted with a blanket of thirst. Not the hunger revealing, nor the ricochet in the cave, nor the hand that is healing, nor the nameless grave. It's not the room, not beginning, not the crowd, not winning, not the painting, not spinning, not a ruse, not heat, not the fire lapping up the creek, not food, not to eat, not to die, not dying, not to lie, not lying, not the vacant wilderness lying, not the room, not beginning, not the crowd, not winning, not the plan,
Hey guys, so you stuck around. what are we doing here? The cat's going to keep walking by and bumping the table, and I'm just, he usually leaves me alone, but not today. But anyway, who cares? What are we doing here? So, it's been a year since I made my first video on YouTube, posted my first video on YouTube. And it was for Dylan's 750 subscribers contest, which quickly turned into like 5,000 subscribers. But anyway, he kept encouraging me to make videos, and so, you know, I did, and here I am a year later, and it's been cool. I've made some good acquaintances here on the VC, even a few that I consider friends, and that's been kind of cool. It's been a nice distraction for me lately. My life, the way it kind of is, maybe at times an unhealthy distraction. And I'm not just talking about buying records, because we all know that's unhealthy. I just mean, like, you know, devoting the time to making these videos, because I put some effort into them. And even though it's kind of a half-assed effort, but I you know, it takes some time. Watching all the videos takes some time. And so, you know, sometimes I don't know what to think about it exactly. But it's been cool, and I just enjoy the interaction and talking about music, because I love talking about music, and it's doing this has also allowed me to get that out of my system, and I don't annoy other people with it as much anymore. So yeah. So anyway, so in honor of doing videos for a year, I've decided that I'm going to do a contest / drawing. I always said that I was never going to do one, but then, because I don't know, I had questions about the motivation behind it, and it's not really, I don't know. I don't really care about subscriber number or video views. I don't really believe in those numbers. When I make videos, I usually make them with, I don't know, the same kind of 30 people in mind, like the same 30 people that I think regularly watch my videos. And that's mostly VC members. And so that's why I'm doing this. Also, there was something that Bill at Michigan Record Club said in one of his videos. He had reached a certain subscriber number, and he said that, you know, I know a lot of people do contests and stuff when they hit subscriber totals, but he wasn't going to do that. But he might do one later, if anything, just to kind of show his appreciation to the folks that watch his videos regularly and whatever. And so in my mind, I'm kind of doing this for the 30 folks that watch my videos regularly. Yeah, you know, now if other people want to enter, if other people are actually seeing this and want to enter, then that's cool. In my own way, I've kind of done this in typical John fashion, and I've kind of buried it. But yeah, I mean, you know. Okay, so what's the contest? Well, I'm a big fan of the movie High Fidelity. I have the book by Nick Hornby, and of course I haven't read it. It's one of those books sitting on the shelf gathering dust. I will read it eventually, and I'm sure it's better than the movie. But I'm a big fan of the movie, and one of the things that all the characters, the record store owners, the main protagonists, and then the supporting cast, the guys that work in the store, when they're just shooting the shit during the day, they do top 5 lists. So that's what I want. I want a top 5 list. Now, let's be creative, guys. I don't want your 5 favorite albums, your 5 favorite songs, your 5 favorite bands or artists, even your 5 favorite bands, artists, songs, or albums in a genre. I don't want any of that. Let's be creative. And pay attention to what I'm saying. I just want a top 5 list. A list of 5 things. That's it. The video also has to be 5 minutes or under, and I will disqualify. So it has to be 5 minutes and under, top 5 list. There are some folks out there who don't do videos but are regular commenters on my videos, and I want to include them. I do want a video response to this contest, so I'm going to give them the option to still make a video. They can email it to me. You guys can email it to me. You know who I'm talking about. You guys know who I'm referring to. You know who you are. You can make a video and you can email it to me at thedigitalgramophone@gmail.com. Thedigitalgramophone@gmail.com. Now, if you just don't want to do a video at all, and that's cool, because there's a reason why you don't make them, then that's fine. If you can do a top 5 list in the comments of this video, or you can email me the top 5 list, whatever. And we'll do, if there are enough people to enter, we'll do a little second drawing for a smaller prize. But if you want, I'm giving 2 prizes. If you want either one of those, then you need to do a video response. What's the deadline? The deadline is, because it's the holidays, and there are also a couple of other contests, a few other contests going on right now. I'm going to make the deadline pretty far out. So we're going to do February 20th is the deadline. Up until midnight of February 20th. So that's a lot of time. So you guys will be able to find the time, after the holidays to do it if you want. But I'm just going to go ahead and announce it and put it out right now. That's it. Oh, wait. Yeah, the prizes. So I have an idea to give away what a lot of people would consider a pretty nice record. And there are chances that there might be an international winner. And the shipping is a lot to some countries especially. But, I've been thinking, if I did like a $75 gift card to Amazon or something, that would be more, the shipping might even be less than that still. So, yeah. So what I'm going to do is, if you enter and your name is drawn for the first prize, then we'll just contact each other. I'll then reveal the album that I'm thinking about giving away, and you might not want it. But if you don't want it, then we'll do like a $75 Amazon gift card. Also, the winner, if they want, and you might not want it because he's a real son of a bitch, but if you want to and you want to arrange it, Mr. Subtitles can appear in a video of your choosing. Then the second prize is another record, and if you don't want that record, then it would be a $20 Amazon gift card. Also, the second prize winner would get the option of having Mr. Subtitles appear in one of their videos. So, even creating a little bit more work for us over here at the Digital Gramophone. I think I said the deadline, February 20th, before midnight, February 20th. A top 5 list, video in under 5 minutes. You don't have to be a subscriber. I don't care. If you want to, that's cool. If you want to subscribe, go ahead. If you don't want to, I don't care. You don't have to be a subscriber, but you do have to make a video response if you want one of the first 2 prizes. I think I've covered everything. I'm just going to repeat myself another 10 times. But anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. It'll be interesting to see how this goes. But yeah, anyway, talk to you later.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.